Take me home tonight. Listen, honey, just like Ronnie said. Just like Ronnie said.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the unofficial official pod from Straight No Chaser. As always, I am Mike Luganville here with Seggy and Tyler. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, if you're just listening, then you won't know this. But if you're watching on YouTube, you will see another guy who is sitting right next to us. We have one of the OGs of Straight No Chaser in the house today. Superior tenor, Mr. Steve Morgan is joining us. What's up, Steve?
Hey, buddy. Doing great.
How
Thanks
are
for
you?
having me.
Absolutely. Good to have you on the
He was a
pod.
very easy guest to get. He was just over on the other bus. So the commute was very little.
I'm local.
He still charges us for travel though.
Every
But
step.
episode 14, man.
Episode
First
14.
first original member.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that's going to be something that we want to get into with Steve, but we're going to recap the shows from last week. We are in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a day off here on our way to Pensacola, Florida tomorrow, but we're going to get into a bunch of stuff with Steve, and we are so glad that you guys are listening and you're watching. But I want to start off by actually wanted to ask you, Steve, if that's okay.
Let's get into it. Yeah, let's go.
I'm sure a lot of people listening know you and they know your voice and they know that you're from Cincinnati. You live in Cincinnati, but they may not know your whole journey with SNC. So I was wondering if maybe you could let us know some stuff about that. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was the last original member of
that's
Straight No
right.
Chaser because I was the only one who came in as a freshman. So
I see.
the way it all worked out was I got there in August. Auditions for Singing Hoosiers started pretty much right about the moment I got on campus. So went in for that audition, and then sometime in September, I guess, that was when I was first approached by Ponce, but it was because I lived down the hall from DR.
Oh, okay.
And so DR was like, yeah, there's a new tenor who's on my floor. We should talk to him.
Have him come in.
And I,
PR is the reason.
yeah, he takes credit for it fully. But Ponce was like, here, let's go into it was basically a closet that they had all the music in for the Singing Hoosiers. And he goes, sing this. It's going to take a lot. And so I just belted it out. And he goes, oh, no, you can use falsetto. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't ask.
You had no idea that.
That's
You'd be
good.
singing that for the rest of your life. You have no idea you're going to be doing that.
I didn't- yeah.
forever.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know it'd be the first of 5 million times.
So you were in the same dorm as DR.
Yes.
What dorm was that?
We were in Reed.
Reed.
Reed Curry, 4th floor.
Sure.
Represent.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Reed is considered a nerd dorm. Forest also is considered a nerd dorm. I lived in Forest.
Weren't you a-
I lived in
Weren't
Forest.
you a trumpet major?
I said I lived.
Oh,
in
okay.
Okay.
Okay. For
To that I say
Okay.
balderdash.
So
It was
always
right
thinking
across.
about you.
It was right across the street from the music school. You could roll out of bed and roll right into your
That's why they
8
called
a.m.
it the
theory
nerd
class.
dorms because there's a lot of music students. So yeah,
We were making
we're all,
music
we're all
cool.
nerds.
We were
I'm
making it
just
cool.
giving context to the
We're cool
dorms.
now.
It's still
I don't think we
questionable.
are.
Yeah, for debate.
I don't think we are.
So you guys.
How'd you end up at IU?
Oh, that was not last minute decision, but up until really the start of my second semester of my senior year of high school, I was looking at engineering. So I'd been admitted at Purdue.
You're probably
into
looking at the other Indiana school. Yeah.
I'd been admitted into Purdue into the honors engineering program. I was
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Steve is really smart. Probably the smartest member of the
Very
group.
good at math.
Yeah, very smart.
then another audition I did. I went up to Northwestern. I was going to go engineering and music. And then Northwestern told me there was something for their financial aid that I didn't do. So my dad said, so that's out. I was like, okay, I guess it is. And then when I decided I wanted to do music, I went to IU for math and music. And to my parents' credit, they didn't bat an eye.
Mhm.
And they said, let's go. Let's do what you
But
like.
from your parents' point of view, it's not. I understand when there are parents that kind of push back a little bit when their kids want to go into the arts or a sport or something. They want you at least to pair it with something that is a little logical and like you'd fall back on. And you were doing that with math, so you really didn't give them any room to be like, nope, you're not doing music. You're like, oh, I'm doing music and math. This is something legitimate that if music doesn't work out, that I could do a plethora of things with.
Yeah, I was trying to make sure that I utilized both sides of my brain when I went to school, just
Mhm.
because at 17,
Novel.
turns out I didn't know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Fun fact: music and math are on the same side of the brain.
Absolutely. I know. Well, that's
You
the thing.
still ended up only using one.
When I got to school, everybody in the math department played an instrument.
Yeah.
Everybody was musical.
Really
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Absolutely. So there's definitely something that where
There's
they
a
correlate.
TI-83 orchestra. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it's not a real thing. I just made it up.
What a TI-83
It's a
is.
it's a
Texas
calculator,
Instruments,
graphic
it's a calculator.
Yeah, everyone knows.
So as a lot of the longtime listeners and a lot of the a lot of our long-term fans, they know a little bit about how right after, let's see, it was 2008 when we got signed. What were you doing when you got the call to come back in the group?
So when I got the call to come back to the group, I was performing in Mamma Mia at the time in New
Okay.
York, and I was in it for a total of about 2.5 years. And so when 2000, I know, Mamma Mia, that's a lot of ABBA, about 1,000 shows. By the time this all went down, Emily and I were thinking about, well, we were thinking about starting a family,
Sure.
so much so that when we left New York in 2008, she was pregnant with our daughter Lily.
Mm-hmm.
And we had done a lot of soul searching because we'd been in the arts. I'd been doing it since 99, actively out and being in it. And hey, that's in the grand scheme of things, it's only 9 years, but you travel a lot, you give up a lot of holidays and stuff.
Sure.
Because when people want to see arts is when they're not working. Turns out,
We work when they don't.
yes, exactly. We'd done that soul searching. Like my last show in Mamma Mia, I was a wreck because just everything that it meant, just moving out of New York.
So go into a little bit about what that soul searching means. Like I understand, from what I would take that as is it's that crossroads as an artist where you're like, I've given myself this window of time to more or less make it, right? Or find a career path. And if I'm not, and you're basically choosing, I'm either going to keep trying or we're going to call it a day and move on to the next thing and move on to the next stage in life. Is that
But then there's
kinda what you're
another
saying?
wrinkle, and it's this opportunity. So you were right in the middle of that, right? Of I want to give up that stuff, but then this comes along. You're like, oh, what do I do?
And it wasn't like saying I gave it a shot. Like the last thing I got an offer to be the swing in South Pacific and understudy Cable when they did at Lincoln Center. Like I would have been
Nice.
understudying Matthew Morrison.
Wow.
But at the time I was like, I don't know. Like I was also contemplating going back to Fordham to get my MBA while I was doing Mamma Mia. And I was like, all right, I've got the sweat equity built up so that if stuff gets weird, they'll be like, all right, Steve's put his time in here 2 years. And so there was just so much up in the air. And ultimately, Emily and I decided we just didn't want to raise a family in New York. We were both from the Midwest. I'm from
Understandable.
Evansville, Indiana. She's from Cincinnati.
Right.
That's why we're in Cincinnati now.
Right.
And when there was a rainy day, our first place was at 54th and 10th. When it was a rainy day, if we were walking through Columbus Circle, you'd see these kids, they get out of school and they just go hang out in the shelves or around the shelves at Barnes and Noble. I was like, that's not what I want for my kids. I know a lot of people make it work, but it just wasn't what we wanted for our kids. So that was why we were trying to make that next step of what's the next step going to be where we can have careers outside of New York
Mhm.
and make this work for us. So
have
that,
a little bit more stability too?
well, yes, stability and just we moved somewhere where we had a backyard and
Yeah.
and we are closer to family and all those things just matter a little more when
So you moved back. You moved to Bloomington to get your MBA, correct? Right
Yep.
after that,
I went back to
Okay.
Bloomington in 2008.
and that's the same year that the guys got the call, or was it right before or after that?
So it was right before. So it was January of 2008 when they
Yeah.
had gotten the call. We were doing all of our rehearsals through that spring. So in the
Okay.
spring, everybody was flying to New York on the
Right.
weekends. I was doing 4 shows and then rehearsing every
so that-
second between chunks.
It was while you were still in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I
And
didn't
so I
realize
left,
that.
I didn't leave the show till June or July of 2008. And then right after that, we went to Bloomington
Right.
and recorded for those 2 weeks.
That's right.
But up until then, I was still in the show. And that's why we did our rehearsals in New York because it
You
could go
couldn't
around
leave.
my schedule. I couldn't get out for weekends.
Wow.
It's a little busy.
That's a lot of performing throughout the week.
Yeah. I remember right. I think at the time we were rehearsing for the album that we were about to record. And then there was a run of shows, maybe 8 to 9 shows, maybe 10 shows. And
That
you
fall.
did that run with us. And
Yes.
then it was after that run that you decided right now, just in your life, maybe this wasn't really the best thing. Like, or
Yeah, so
am I
my
wrong about
last
that?
my last thing with Straight No Chaser back then was 2008 Christmas Day.
Okay.
We sang the national anthem for the
You rode with me.
Cavaliers
That's right.
game. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep, rode with you.
That's right.
and
Yeah,
then
we drove
came
no,
home. Yep,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And but Lily was officially her birth date is January 23rd. Starting in December, like December 5th, Emily's doctor told her, "Hey, she's in position. This could happen anytime." That is the worst thing you could ever tell a woman, because she was like, for 6 weeks, she was like, maybe today.
Not
And
just
we
that,
waited.
it's also the worst thing you can tell someone whose husband is also traveling for work.
Yeah. So every show we did where I was out on the road, I had my phone in my pocket
Mm.
on in case it rang.
Yeah.
There
I
were
cannot imagine
Oh
what
my
that
God.
expresses.
finals week. I did 2 red eyes to get back for finals from the West
Oh,
Coast.
there was
Um,
one show that we had in Los Angeles where he almost missed the show. He had to fly in because you had to go back for an exam. And that right as we were going on, he comes right on the stage and he didn't even miss a beat.
My flight was late. I was changing into a suit in the taxi.
Oh my God.
I showed up. They're 4 songs in. They're, "Are you warmed up?" I was like, "Yep." And they go, "Good. You got 4 solos coming up that we've been pushing off."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that lion. It was all,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like, all right, let's start screaming.
So needless to say, that was a really hectic sort of
That time was very crazy.
period in your life, probably.
Yes. And also, and that was one of the reasons I was like, I can't do everything right now, just because it was also that time where we didn't know what this was going to be.
Had no idea.
And some guys just wanted to say, let's throw everything at it.
Yeah, I was one
Other,
of those people.
yeah.
Sure.
And but others.
Well,
were-
I didn't have any.
You didn't
Like
have, you didn't have
married,
kids.
20
yeah,
or-
exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You were doing exactly what you should have been at that time. But there were some other guys who were like, hey, maybe we can drive this and just have it be a weekend thing. And I was like, I don't want to stand in the way of it, of the guys who want to go all in.
Sure.
Mhm.
And that was, I was just, I didn't want to be a hindrance.
So
Well,
you
and
made-
also, if you're looking for stability, like this certainly was not it. And I
mean,
I think most people that were in your position would have made the same decision because, okay, I've got my wife at home ready to have a baby at any moment's notice. I'm in this thing that is not really a thing. We don't know what it is. It's not making any money. It's only losing money right now.
Mhm.
I need to feed my family. Like I have to put a roof over my child's head and my wife's head.
A bunch of views on YouTube doesn't give you food for your family.
Certainly not back then.
No,
Like,
not back
it wasn't
then,
a
no.
thing.
Well, the other thing that was interesting was that then once I did make that decision, turns out 2008, there was a financial collapse.
That too. That too.
So then when it came time to actually look for an internship in March of 2009,
Mhm.
you were at absolute market bottom.
Oh geez.
So it was like, oh, what have I done?
Well, and you were right in the middle of your schooling at that point, right?
Yeah, it was that
MBA.
summer in between.
Right.
So I just found something, found something that would give me some practical experience in something. And then when it came time to look for jobs, I was like, I'm not going back to that.
Mhm.
So it was just the rat race all over again. Once
I think what's really interesting too is that as we're looking ahead here, you deciding, so you left around, I think it was at the beginning of 09, and that actually opened up a spot for
Somebody really
someone
awesome.
else who's actually sitting in this room right now, Tyler, who also just happens to be, or I feel like at that time you were singing at Tenor One and you were singing a bunch of solos, and it was like, we got to get someone to replace this guy. And it happened to be that was the audition where we got Tyler. And then also Segi, because there was something else going on. I think Mike or
Mike
maybe
left.
Dan
Well,
left
at the
soon
same
after
time.
you. It was
Mike,
the
Mike
slow
left
burn.
just a couple months after me. I
Right,
think.
right. So we had auditions, I think, that April.
Yep.
And that's when we got
Tyler
you guys
himself.
in the group. I think that's an interesting thing, how that all worked out. And eventually we will get to how you came back in the group. But that's interesting now that like he's sitting here and
Yeah.
took your spot almost. But
I mean, is like you said, like Steve and Mike Ickoff were in a different position in their lives than the rest of the group.
Absolutely.
So they, they made a decision, and I was younger. I was working on a cruise ship. I was 24 years old. I had nothing that I had no responsibilities either. And so
Yeah.
when I had heard, that the original Straight No Chaser group was getting back together because Charlie's brother Luke was singing with me on the ship.
Mhm.
So he was filling me in with everything that was going on. I was like, man, that's so cool. They get to do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, it'd be, I couldn't believe like I was that close to it. 'Cause I was like,
Mhm.
man, I was in the group too, just like a little bit later or whatever. And then I get an email on the really bad ship internet email that
Oh,
I
that's right.
had. And it was like, hey, it's Walter from Straight No Chaser. Just want to know if you want to come audition for an open spot we have. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
What'd you say?
He was on the fence.
No, so then we came to Chicago to audition, and the
Mhm.
rest.
Yeah. So it was actually soon after you left, and you're not the reason, but took off like a year or so after you left. It wasn't about you. It was
It
just
was
about the
PBS.
build.
Correlation
The
is
build
not
about
causality.
PBS. Exactly.
It was all
Like
PBS.
about
I
the
mean,
build, everything. So I always wondered, like, I'm not sure I've asked you this ever, but what did you think as, because I know that you made the right decision, but what were you thinking as, like, it was actually starting to take off and we were doing shows and everything?
Oh man, I was
Had any-
I was the biggest
Had any
fan.
thoughts about it?
I was the biggest fan of it, of
Awesome.
course. I've always felt ownership of this group, even
Yes.
after I was
As you
gone.
should.
And
Yeah,
when
you
your
helped
original
build it,
founding
man.
member.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
always have that. You're an original guy.
yes, and I kept in touch with so many of the guys. And every time you guys were in town, I'd come hang out for. Probably took a free meal off you guys. Shocking. I know. No, but I would come hang out during my lunch break at work, and then I came with Emily and the kids. I think
Right.
at least Lily came with me one time. We
Sure.
sat behind Nick Lachey for a show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was the biggest fan, and of course I missed it, but at the
Right.
same time, I also knew I thought I was in the right spot for me.
So then, cut to a couple years later, and now the group that you started, that you had retired from, is now calling you back saying, "Hey, man, I know you already said no to us once because you had to, but now things are different. Things with the group are moving forward and moving forward quickly, and we need you back. What do you say?" What was that conversation like with Emily? What was that?
I think to interject a little bit, I think Walt just called you, be like, hey, let's reach out to Steve just to see what
Let's
he
get them
says.
background
Yeah.
because Ryan,
Okay.
who a lot of you guys know,
Brian.
Ryan Allward,
Great hair.
was in the group for a long time, and he decided in 2012 at some point that it was going to be the best thing for him if he left the group. And I think all of us, because I think at the time we
It was
were
at
on a
October
cruise ship.
15th,
Yeah,
was on a
and,
cruise ship.
2012, because that's when I
SNC
met my
cruise.
wife.
and I don't want to say this, but I will. Ryan leaving was a huge thing,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
it was a big deal. And he mentioned it to us after the show on the ship. It was one of our last nights on the cruise. It was the summit, which a lot of you guys, I think, were on. If you weren't on, then you've heard about it. And I feel like I'm always like this, but immediately after he said, I'm going to leave, I was really sad, but my mind went right to who are we going to get? What's going to happen? And I felt a little bad about that. But at the same time, we had to think that way because
We
Ryan's
have
the
to
first
protect our
tenor,
business.
and we have to
Yeah.
protect our business. And that's when it was like, maybe Steve would consider it again. Maybe he would. So we were like, ooh, I don't know. So I think that's when Walt, he was like,
Just to put a feeler
maybe
out.
Steve.
Yeah.
And then I think little did we know that you were ready or you were thinking about it, or I don't know.
No,
That was a
I
little
posed the
background.
question. What was
Yeah.
that? What was that conversation with Emily? What? How did that just all kind of transpire?
So it was interesting because it came on the heels of me having sung at one of my best friend's weddings. So Walt was at the wedding as well, and he goes, "Hey, you sounded really good."
Still got it.
I was like, "Thanks." And when I got the call, I was working at the bank. I was in the finance position. I was trying to look for something a little more on a different side of it, and I probably could have gotten there in the next year, but it wasn't happening immediately. It was frustrating. So I got this call, and as soon as I got it, I was like, "Let me talk to Emily," and she just goes, "You're not loving what you're doing, so let's."
Who called you?
It was Walt,
It was Walt.
and she goes, "You don't love what you're doing right now, so let's take a look at it." And she said, "Do your due diligence, make sure that it takes care of our family, It was at the time, still is, which is we're all
Mhm,
blessed
yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Very, very.
And then I so going back to the nerd part, I ran the numbers. I put it in my
I
spreadsheet,
was
made
gonna
some
ask you about
assumptions.
You
I was
did.
gonna ask you about that.
As long as we didn't travel more than 55% of the year, I had more waking hours on this schedule with my kids at home than I did working at the bank.
Yeah, but okay, just a quick interjection there. Are those your awake hours, or are you considering the hours that your kids are actually awake? Because Steve wakes up at 3 a.m. to work out. He's like on the Wahlberg schedule. He wakes up at 3 a.m. to work out, run 50 miles, come back, fix an entire breakfast for the family. At what point are they waking up? How many hours after you've already been up?
This is also something I did 12 years ago. So I don't remember exactly.
Kidding, by the way.
It took into account a number of
Sure.
things. I made some assumptions, of course, but it's worked out, and it's interesting now because I have these conversations. I had that conversation with my daughter. Now, before I left, I was like, I hate leaving you guys, but I hope you understand now why I do this and the engine that helps this family run.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "No, I get it." And
That's cool.
whereas
She
it
gets
used to
that.
be like, "Don't go."
Right.
We've moved past that
They don't
to
understand yet, yeah.
there's understanding of capitalism
Yeah.
and just what makes the
also-
world
Also,
go round.
selfishly, it's not, yes, this is how we earn our income, but that is such a small part of this. I don't want to speak for everybody in the group, but like when I
How dare you?
auditioned and left my job in Vegas, like I was making a great living. Had a great job and had a lot of room to grow there, but this is my path. Like this is what I feel like I was meant to do. Like I don't feel at home when I take the stage every night. Like that is where I'm supposed to be. Like so selfishly, yeah, the money is important and we have to pay our bills and afford food and everything. But that's the angle I come at it with my kids. Like try to explain like, yes, I leave so we can make money, but I also leave because I really love doing this. And on the other side, the fans need these 2 hours. In all these various cities, people are going through a lot of
Right,
things.
yeah,
They
yeah.
need that 2 hour break to feel happy. And I feel blessed that we are able to give that to people. But yeah, I think it's okay. Like I'm good being selfish about it and saying, I I just love it. Like I cannot imagine any other way. This is my passion. Like this is what I always wanted to do, and now we get to do it. It's unbelievable. Like all the other stuff is just icing on the cake. So
Yeah.
At an even more basic level, I think it shows my kids that there's room for creativity
yeah,
in everything
100%.
we do. That's one of the fun things that I've been able to do, just bring them in on some of these other little things. So for instance,
Yeah.
when my kids were in preschool, I would go talk to the teacher and say, "Hey, what are some of your songs you're doing for your end of the year musical?" And I would put it all together. I would do like an a cappella arrangement and I would take that in and set up in the corner and record with the kids so that
It's cool
we
when you
could
did
do
that.
that. And so then I would record each of them, and then at the end I would have all the kids singing together. But at the beginning it was just them. By the time it has all the kids singing with all the background noise, it's a train wreck. But the kids when
Not
it's
too different from our recording
Yeah,
projects.
but the kids when it's just them, then I took that and I sent it out to all their parents, so they'll have that little snapshot in
That's awesome.
time. And the last one I did, I recorded like for 2 weeks on this. It's got like 46 of me in the background, and it was the groove Get Groovy by Mo Willems.
All right.
Okay.
That
Had a little
was
funk to it. It was pretty good.
He's a good author.
His stuff's great.
He's great.
But I sent that out to all the parents that year,
Yeah.
and one who had gotten multiple, she goes,
Mhm.
"That's your best work
Awesome.
yet."
But then it was a couple of years ago. Lily joined us on stage. Didn't
Yeah.
Oh,
She
yeah,
did.
that's
Do the-
right.
She did.
Dude, how,
You
like,
crushed it.
how cool is that?
Oh, that
Like,
was
that's gotta be
that's the best show.
gotta
That's
be
my
cool.
favorite show we've ever done. But
Yeah.
she's also a dancer, so it was funny because afterwards, I mean, if I've watched the video a number of times,
Sure,
I assure you,
yeah.
and if she's nervous, she doesn't show
You
it.
gotta look at it, yeah.
And then one of her friends asked, she goes, "Oh, I was freaking out." I said, "All right, you got that eye of the tiger, girl."
Yeah.
One of your daughters is on one of our projects, right?
Yeah, Nova, when she was a baby, I needed like a sound. I could have used any baby, but she was the one that was just the nearest to me.
It's probably best.
I could have used like a baby sound, like
Just walking around the mall. Excuse
Like
me,
a
may I
snake.
borrow your baby for 5 minutes?
It's your baby.
Can you make your baby say that real quick, and I can just record it? No, but yeah, she was obviously young, so she can't really. she can't really remember that.
Or ask for
But I
royalty.
feel
But you have
that's
it.
going to be something that Lily's going to remember forever.
It's a snapshot in time.
But yes, I have it.
You
You're
have-
right.
yes.
Like on the recording. Yeah.
Greatest gift.
Yes, the
Okay.
greatest gift of all.
Great song.
Not to be confused with the Kenny Rogers version of that.
Oh, I
It's
don't
not
know
the
that
same
one.
song, but I realized after the fact that he wrote a song that had the same name, but it's not the same song. But yeah, that was really fun. Man, that's so cool because it's like a full circle moment, right?
Yeah.
She was on stage with you. She likes to dance, so she gets to do what she loves while you're doing what you love, like in front of 1,800 people, maybe more. Like that's so cool, man. It's a memory that'll last a lifetime.
I contend she's the best dancer we've had on our stage.
That's 100%
Probably by a
true.
lot.
Speaking of that, we're going to recap some of the shows that we did this week with Steve. I know that a lot of people loved you right at the beginning, and they love that you are here now. You're just a pro, man. You're a pro always in every aspect of it all. So we're happy that you're here. And we're happy that you're with us today, man. So
I'm happy to be here. Up
Yeah.
until now, I've only been mentioned as the person that people boo. So this is great.
Someone listens.
I will say this, that
You're asking for it.
Steve has a role in this group that I think that everybody knows about, but I don't know if they know. So Steve, in our shows, we do the first song, the opener. Steve has had the first intro in our shows for, I think, since
Don left.
That's Don left. Don
Yeah.
used the intro.
And it's new every night. Right?
So Steve has now done this intro ever since Don left, and I think for a number of years. It's basically the same, but he carves out a little section to do something about either that city or that area of town, like a joke or something, and he does it different every night, and I just think that's so cool.
great.
And I think it's really good for the show because the people obviously can relate to
Yeah.
like
Talking about
you know,
us.
last Sunday, Duke, North Carolina, like basketball rivalry or whatever. Oh yeah, we know that. So I think that's really cool. And I don't know if a lot of people know that he carves out that little piece of his intro just for you. That night.
Yeah, he doesn't do the Appleton, Wisconsin material all across the country.
I tried. It really bombed.
You guys know, right?
So the last time we were with you guys, we were in Oxford, Alabama. We were on the bus with Jasper. We had a day off and we had a show there the next night. Was there anything about Oxford that you guys can remember that you thought was awesome, that you thought that you could do better? Was there anything about the venue that you remembered?
Yeah, that was the venue where I stepped in dog poop
That's
after the
first thing
show
you
last
remember?
time. That was the first thing I remembered because I didn't remember the venue. And as we were pulling up, I was like, yes. I walked around this corner. I was on the phone with Jamie after the show, the last time we were there, and I was walking around the corner and I'd stepped in dog poop and I was like on the bus and I was like, what is that smell?
Mm,
And we were checking everywhere and then finally realized it was on the bottom of my shoe. And then I was going to throw away my
you
shoes. And
threw it in.
Tyler yelled at me.
He bought these new. How old were these shoes?
I don't know.
They're pretty new. And he stepped into dog poop and he was just gonna throw them away. I'm like, just wash them off. Have you never stepped in dog
about-
poop before?
We're on a bus. I don't have them. I don't have all. I
You have a
can't just.
sink and some.
Yeah, but it's a sink that like people brush their teeth in. Like I
Oxford.
don't have the laundry room
Like,
basin.
boy, I'm like,
Oxford is so proud right now.
I did not throw the shoes away. I put them in the. I found a hose, something outside. I put them in the bays and then
Hilarious.
threw them in the water.
That was a good show.
Yeah,
It was.
that's the second story on this pod about smelly things about your bag and now your shoes.
I know. Just bad luck. Bad luck.
That and
everywhere.
hose in Oxford.
I think we're getting a little better about being extra focused after an off day like this. You think that's happening too?
I think so. And I think just there's been a greater attention to detail, greater attention to some of the musicality that we're bringing to each show, each song, really. And I think, it's only going to serve to make this show better, stronger, and stay stronger through the end of the run.
Yeah. So Oxford, Alabama, as you can tell, these guys have nothing to say about it. It was not very memorable at all. That's what they think.
Wow.
Balderdash.
I'm
That-
Literally
kidding.
didn't
Ox-
say that.
Oxford, Alabama had
I'm
the
kidding.
chandelier that was from
Phantom of
the
the
first
Opera.
national tour of Phantom of the Opera.
There you go.
What
That's
was that?
That's what
Yeah.
the people want to
Yeah.
hear.
Oh,
That's
that
what
neat.
they
Yeah.
want to hear.
Okay.
So the next night we go
So
down.
hold on, that
to
venue
Charl-
was really nice.
It was.
It's like a really.
Yeah.
It's like
It's freezing in the dressing room.
it was very
remember?
cold
Yeah.
in the dressing room.
And they have
but
the showers like randomly in the
it
middle
was
of the
very
room.
nice.
but nobody walked in on any bathroom
Nope, not in the show.
show.
Nope.
So the next night, so that was Thursday of last week. On Friday, we go down to
North Charleston, South Carolina.
And the one thing, and the one thing that I remember about that is a little bit like what you were saying, Steve. We had a rehearsal in the afternoon uh that day, which we don't normally do. And it was more of what you were saying. We know the songs, but it's like, how do we sing them a little better now? Like, how do we sing them almost all the way down to like the vowel sounds? And even though that's not something that we've ever done, I think we're going to do it as we move ahead here. And it was a half an hour, before sound check, and it was a way to check in with guys. I thought that was really cool.
It
What do you
was
think
really
about
cool. It's that, like we've been saying, that extra 10% of your part. Everybody knows their parts. They know the words. They know the harmonies. They know the. Then that extra 10% of vowels or dynamics or something else, it kind of takes the song like to that next level. Like that's something that is going to bring our group to be even better, and also to do that in the middle of the day where that's the first time you're singing, rather than being sound checked the first time you're singing with everybody, where sound check you're on in ears, so you are with everybody, but like in a room like that in a circle is a lot different than being on ears and singing with everybody at sound check. So I thought it was a really good thing that we did, and I hope we continue to do it.
Yeah, and credit to where it's due.
Please.
I would say anytime new blood enters this group, it always rejuvenates and takes the horns to push the group further and to be better. And that's happened with each new person that's come in. And Luke Bob is no exception. He's the one that's, I'm hearing some stuff. Let's iron it out. Let's make sure we're all matching vowels on this so it sounds like one voice rather than 8 different voices and a soloist. So shout out Luke Bob for doing exactly what Freedom did when he came in. Steve, Tyler, myself, like everyone that came in, Jasper, always just making sure, hey, yes, you guys have been doing this for a very long time. And once you are doing something for a very long time, it's very easy to just get into your routine and stay in that routine. But that doesn't mean it's a perfect routine. And I think it's good to have those disruptors come in and be like, hey, let's fine tune this little area. And it just pushes everybody just a little bit to just be a little bit better. And incrementally, that goes a long way when you're multiplying it by 9 every night.
It's so beneficial, even if it's not mandatory.
Yes.
That was inside baseball. That was just for us.
I feel like even though that was the first time that we had maybe done that in that sort of setting, but it's something we all talk about a lot. I know you talk about that a lot. I feel like you've always been real good, Steve, about holding us accountable every day to our sound check. Can you talk a little bit about that mindset?
So yes, I brought most of that, I think, probably more to the choreography, just
Sure.
because that's my role in the group. But I think
Well,
there's
it's one of them.
It's one of them, yes. But yes, if something's slipping, it should be addressed. It should be fixed because, again, while our job is to provide escapist joy to the audience, we should also be clean. This is our job. This is everything should be on point. And you don't get that by accident by singing together for 15 minutes a day at sound check. You get it through some focus time, phones down, locking ears, eyes with everybody, and dialing in. And so I think when we have those dedicated times, again, it'll only serve to improve our sound now and going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the sound, just the look of the show too, choreography wise, presence wise on stage, like it's all connected, right? So as one area of the show improves, it's going to help lift the other areas as well.
It's also like a way to build the team too, like to build the camaraderie. We have a lot of camaraderie, obviously, but it's more on the bus after the show or as we're hanging out, like we all go to dinner together or whatever. But it's one thing to work and to have that, like having that sort of relationship while you're working. It's a different approach to it as opposed to if you're just having dinner together.
There's a sense of achievement when you build something, whether that be a sound, whether that be a house, whatever. So as things improved, like you could go around that circle the other day and look in everybody's eyes and see them realizing as it improved. And it's one of those things, again, it doesn't happen if you're just singing through a song and you rush by eighth notes or a quarter note. And so when I've done other things with a cappella groups just locally, and you're singing with a group and you get to a point and you stop on a given beat and you go, all right, everybody sing that note, and you wait and you make everybody go through and adjust their tone and their pitch until it locks in, and you go, all right, Did everybody hear that? And you do it again. Listen to that. This is what we're going for with everything we sing.
Yes.
And that's what we should be going for every time we sing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So then we get to Greensboro,
That's on Saturday,
back.
right?
North Carolina.
Bring it
Yep. We had
back.
just left Charlotte and gotten to
That's
Greens-
also an inside joke because during that North Charleston show, someone in the group,
we won't out him.
we won't out him, but it
Or
reminded me
her.
of,
We're not going to chase him off the stage for
Or
that.
her.
we won't chase him off.
No.
So
Well-
Greensboro was cool because on the Yacht Rock run a couple years ago, and maybe on the 90s tour last year too. I don't know. I think it was maybe just Yacht Rock only, but we were supposed to go to Greensboro. The show got moved for some reason. It was either weather or something, but it was nice to be able to actually go to Greensboro.
Yep.
Don't think we've ever had a show there before.
We had not.
The crowd was great, probably 60% or 70% sold, and they were super excited, and I'd love to go back. Did you think any? Yeah, what'd you think about that one?
I thought it was a great haul. Certainly,
Yeah,
when you
pretty-
look at who comes through there, it's a bunch of first runs of national tours. That's always, I think, a good sign. So, the
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
facility. The people who were there were into it. They were hollering at us. Somebody was up dancing, starting with
Yeah.
song 3. So,
Yeah.
you love to see that.
Yeah.
And
Flying baby.
also Flying Baby.
Flying Baby.
That was Charleston.
What?
That was Charleston.
No, I think it was Greensboro.
It wasn't. But it's fine. It was funny when somebody holds up their baby. That's
See?
funny.
Yeah.
It is all about accountability.
The lady dancing the whole show is the same show as Flying Baby.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, whichever.
Yeah, I just know the baby was in North Charleston because
The fact
afterwards.
there was a
Oh
flying
yes, because the
baby at
baby's
all
name
this
the
last
baby's
week.
name was Charlotte.
That's right.
Okay, so
We're
it
back.
was North Charleston. You are correct.
Yes.
Okay. Was
So
Greensboro
Greensboro-
the IU guy?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was IU.
Yeah. There was a guy who was hammered, admittedly, self-admittedly.
Oh, he admitted it.
Yeah, he was like, "I'm the drunk IU guy," and I was
But
like,
we had just won that day.
And it was a noon game. He's like, I've been drinking since the game. I was like, fair.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's,
"Some
it's
of us,
8
but
o'clock.
we're also, but we can't because we have a job to do."
Yeah.
So yeah, he was fun throughout the show. Just
Yeah.
always
Just that
yelling at
whole
you.
that whole show was great. And I think it was helped a little bit though. Just I think all of us were in a super good mood. It's the weekend.
IU had won.
And you had won, and we had never been there before. So we're always just an extra level of, hey, let's give these people something that they haven't seen. So that was a great show. So the next day, unless you guys had,
The
I
next
mean,
day,
a good
other-
YMCA that was right next to the jail. Who
yes.
could ask for anything more?
I walked around in the area. There was a cool. I think it was like they were doing like a trick or treating thing. So there's a bunch of kids in costumes, like walking around, like getting candy from. There's like
Mhm.
food trucks and a bunch of different stuff. It was cool to
Mhm.
see.
so then after Greensboro, we go to, that's a Saturday. So the next day, which is yesterday, as we tape this, we go to Durham, North Carolina.
Carolina.
The thing that was a little different about this show, that's actually been the same way there for a couple of years, was that it was a matinee. I know how I get ready for matinees, but I want to ask you guys, like, what is, because a lot of our shows are in the evening, right? At the
Yeah.
earliest would be probably
7.
7:30.
8's the latest, but
I can see that.
this show is at 3
8.
o'clock. How do you guys get ready for those shows as opposed to the normal show times, like the 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
Got to get up and at them earlier.
Yeah,
get your body moving.
Start your warming up process earlier, like talking earlier, like trying to warm up, especially this early on in the tour where your voice is like not quite used to being on tour yet. Because I think by the time we get to December, where we do have some double show days, your voice is like in a position where it's like strong and that
Mhm,
muscle's like
yeah.
ready to go. So like
Right.
when that matinee show comes, you're like, oh yeah, I'm okay. But this early in the tour, it's kind of like, all right, I should probably get up and warm up and get my voice ready to go, and then
Mhm.
try some things in soundtrack to get it ready for this 3 o'clock show. It's okay, you need to sing
It-
as well as you did at 7 o'clock at 3
Yeah,
o'clock.
see
you know?
where you're at. Kind of,
Right,
ooh, I don't have that
exactly.
yet,
Yeah.
or I need to warm
Yeah,
up a little
let's
bit
try
more.
let's try these things and
You approach it differently, or do you?
No, it's pretty much the same. You're going to be shocked. I just work out.
Well, I mean, that's a big thing. Yeah.
That's the best way to warm up because you're getting the breathing
It is.
going. You're breathing harder than you would during a show, so it's your conditioning is getting
Right.
the blood pumping, getting the air moving through your body. That's 90% of it, and then the
Yep.
rest is just getting the vocal cords warmed up.
Steve's also singing his parts while he works out too, so it's
I wouldn't put it past him.
There was
Checking on the bass notes.
yeah.
there was a trainer that we worked with one time who said that's what you should do while you're running is you should sing
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to get ready for what it's like when you're dancing on stage. So just as you're off on your run, if you're out, obviously not at like a gym, but if you're out like on a trail or something, you could sing like while you're running to get yourself ready for that. I don't know if anyone ever told you guys that.
That was the old
heard
NSYNC
that.
story from back around 2000.
Yeah.
They said they would do sprints, stop, sing,
Sure.
do more sprints, stop and sing, just
Yeah.
trying to be acclimated to singing with very little
Mhm.
wind in them.
Yeah, I know for me, I usually get up earlier on those days. I was up at 8 o'clock yesterday, but the show was at 3. Usually I'm not up till, maybe like 9:30 or 10. But I've been having a hard time sleeping on this. I don't know why this tour so far.
Turns out it doesn't get easier as you get older.
It doesn't, right? But I'd say the only difference for me is that I set my alarm for 8 o'clock. I was like, I got to get up because if just, I don't want to, all right, if I have the show and I'm like, man, I could have done something else to be better that day. Like, I don't want to say that to myself. Like, I should
Sure.
have gotten up at 8, or I shouldn't have gotten up at 7, or like, I don't want to have anything in the back of my mind that was like, you could have done that better. But that's the big difference for me. But
Yeah, I personally don't love matinees, not from our standpoint. I just feel like audiences are, you're not ready to see a show at 3 o'clock.
you shouldn't be telling people what they should be ready. Now, you can say that you're not ready to see the show.
I'm speaking based on our experience in front of audiences.
You're not
and-
giving them enough credit, man.
Durham kind of rocked.
It was
Great.
pretty,
Talking about.
good, but I just don't think people are ready to see a show at 3 o'clock. You're not ready to be an active participating audience member at 3 o'clock. I think it's a lot more natural and comfortable in the evening. And
Please email the show, unofficial
Please.
and tell
Please.
Seggy how wrong he is. Please email the show. Yeah.
then, okay, why isn't Taylor Swift's concert at 3 o'clock?
I understand.
Because
She's outdoors and she needs the lights.
what about inside an arena?
I understand what you're saying.
She's still
I'm
making
just giving you
friendship
shit.
bracelets.
But I'm saying, like, it's more like the freaks come out at night, right?
Sure.
People let loose.
No,
People
no.
let loose. People have maybe had a drink or two after dinner,
Right.
after work, whatever it might be, during work.
I think that's a challenge to all the matinees left on the tour. That's a challenge right there.
There's only 2 left. They're Indianapolis and Chicago. I think Chicago's matinee also.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So challenge Chicago. And that's not to say they can't be good audiences. I'm just saying I like, just selfishly, like performing in the evening better.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that the audiences are more comfortable in the evening as an audience member.
Sure.
But that's just my thing. But I will say, yesterday we received a compliment that will stick with me forever, because I think this is a comment that someone made that like really embodies everything that we are and what we stand for and our brand and our image that we're trying to put forth. So this guy came through the line with his daughter. We signed his
Racing jacket. Yeah.
and he was from Poland and then had moved to Brooklyn and then somehow found his way to Durham. But he comes through the line and he's like, I just have to tell you, a handful of years ago, the first time I saw you, I bought tickets for something I thought was Straight No Chaser, a jazz show. He said, I bought the tickets like 6 months in advance. I was very exciting. I love jazz. I'm a big jazz head. And about a few weeks out from the show, he looked at his tickets again. He's like, oh, wait, what the heck is this? I don't want to see this show. This is not what I wanted. And he was like, whatever. I bought the tickets. I'll just go anyway, whatever. And he's like, I came to the show, not really having any expectations, but getting ready to be like, that was a waste of $100 or whatever the tickets were. And he said that he was sitting in the audience and he was just blown away. And I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but the thing that he said that stuck was, you guys are me in the shower, singing by myself, sounding awesome. You guys are every man who sings in the shower alone, thinking they're good, but you guys are that, but presented in a professional, polished way.
With
And
clothes on.
Yes. And I was like, yes, that is what we hope people are relating to. We are everyday people. We are your everyman. We are just regular bros who happen to do this. And it really stuck with me that he was in no way, shape, or form a chaser, right? He was a guy that was not expecting to enjoy seeing us and who's now come back for several years now because that's what his relation was to the show. That's what he took away. And I was like, thank you, man. That
That's really
was
cool.
the best way I've heard that described.
Yeah.
Like you always hear, oh, these guys seem like guys I could have a beer with. But this to me was like that next step of relatability that I think is so perfect. Like he described it so perfectly. I was like, yes, dude.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
That's
And he
really
brought his
cool.
daughter.
And he
So
brought his
can
daughter.
Share that,
That
with,
was-
share
that's a
that
cool
with his
story.
daughter. That's cool.
Yeah.
His daughter said to me on the way up, because it was right before he got there. I'm not sure she knew what she was saying, but she was like, "My dad wants to marry you." And I said that to Segi because he was sitting right next to me, and I was like, "I'm not sure. I think maybe she meant to say her mom, but it was a really random exchange."
Hey, man,
but,
you're a handsome guy.
but that was a great
That's
show.
a really cool story. I didn't know that.
But also the matinee shows though, just because all of our shows are late and after everybody leaves the venue, it's usually like 11 or midnight. It was nice yesterday to just have an easy night after. I think the show was done by a little after 5, and then after the meet and greet, it was about 6 or 6:30, and I think we left around 7 to come
Seven.
up
Yeah,
to
we had to be out by
Atlanta.
7.
But it was just a nice, easy kind of evening. I don't know. I like that about the matinees sometimes.
And in matinee audience's defense, Segi also thinks that 7 p.m. is entirely too early for a show.
On a weekday. On a weekday. And I've said why.
He's very particular about his times.
On a Sunday, 7 o'clock is perfectly fine, or Saturday. But on the weekday, when you're getting off of work at 5 o'clock, 7 is a little too early. It doesn't give you enough time to go to dinner. So
Yeah.
that's why. You didn't even hear what I said. You were talking to Steve.
He was
I was
asking where we're
asking
going.
about
I know where we're
something.
going next.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say
Pepsi Cola.
I thought this week of shows was great. I think the group's coming together. I think the show's coming together. And as we look ahead to this week where we're going to be going, we're looking forward to seeing all you guys out there. Where are we going, guys?
We're going to Pensacola tomorrow,
Sanger Theater.
Sanger Theater, and then we're going to our second time in Auburn, Alabama.
On
The
October
Gogue?
the 29th, right? Is that
Doge.
Goge.
Tuesday the 29th?
Pensacola, yeah.
Yes, that is Pensacola. The 29th is Pensacola. 30th is in Auburn.
Okay.
And then on Halloween, we have a day off. Some of us are flying home to hang out with Halloween with our kids. And then November 1st, we are in Conway, Arkansas. And after that, we're in Huntsville, Alabama, November 2nd. And then we finish the week in beautiful Nashville on November 3rd at the
We get to
Ryman.
finish the week in Nashville this week. That's really good for me. That's where I live. And also the Ryman. I know you guys don't love the Ryman sometimes. Even I don't, just because it's really loud in there. The sound, it's just hard to sound good in there. I love the Ryman because of the history and all that. I would say if there's any show this week that I'm looking ahead to, it's that one, obviously, because I live there and just because the venue is amazing and it's awesome. Is there any show this week that you guys are looking forward to?
It's been a little bit since we were back at Conway, Arkansas. We've had some
Yeah.
great shows there.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get back there.
Is that at the university? Is there?
Yep,
is
the
there a university?
Central Arkansas University. If you
Is that
recall,
Walmart?
No, that's
No, that's
Rogers.
Bentonville.
Bentonville, yeah.
If you recall, years ago we had the mascot on the stage with us at Conway, Arkansas.
We
He came out for the
did.
finale.
Okay.
So it's
Wait,
it's
what
always
was
been
the mascot?
It's like a
a
bear. I think.
wildcat or a tiger, some kind of tiger or something like that. I
Oh,
think
wrong.
maybe it could
I
be a
don't
bear
remember that. During not during the off mic.
during the encore.
Mhm.
Oh,
He ran out.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
So it's always been a fun one.
Yeah.
And then being the nerd I am, going to the Von Braun Center. That's Werner von Braun, the German
Steve is fluent in German.
rocket guy.
FYI, that's another thing about him. He knows multiple languages.
I know
He's just
one
this
other
guy.
language, and not so great anymore.
It's multiple English and German.
Yes, and Pig
But
Latin.
a little BTS for you.
Behind the scenes.
The Goge. Steve and I usually do the liners together where we'll record like, hey, we're coming to this town. Get your information at blah, blah, blah. And we had to redo the Goge because we had no idea. We said Gogue because it's G-O-U-G-U-E.
Where is that
G-O-G-U-E.
That's
That's in,
Auburn.
in
Oh, okay.
Auburn.
Auburn. They have a
Somebody's
great gym
last
there.
name, yeah.
They do have a great
Wait, is it at the university?
Yeah, it's close. I walked to the football stadium
The last time we went. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Management emailed us back. Yeah, you guys need to redo this. You said it wrong. That happens a couple times on some of these words that are people's names, and you just
I mispronounced fans' names on this podcast.
Is
Yes,
there
Weber.
is
Weber.
there somewhere this week that you are looking forward to going to, Tyler?
No, I
Home
I,
on Thursday. There you go.
I am home on Thursday, but I do enjoy the Nashville show. Yes, it's at the Ryman, and yes, it's very loud in that room, but there's always a lot of friends and people that work with us. And it's always usually a really good time to see everybody, and it's always a fun show. So I love Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville's gonna be fun. I think we all have early flights out the next morning.
Yeah,
We sure do.
yeah, because we
You
have
up
2
that
days
night?
off, right?
I'm driving home.
Oh,
That
you
night.
drive it? What is it? 4 hours?
Yeah, and I get to see my parents that day. They're coming down from Evansville.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Nice. Well, we got a lot of friends coming out in Nashville. We always see Fritz, sometimes Steiny or Zink. Some of the home free guys. Some of the home free guys
Yeah,
come out.
yeah.
Tim and
Yeah, so it'd be nice to see them hopefully on Sunday at the Ryman. And as we go ahead here, we just always want to say we are super thankful for all of you guys for watching and for listening. If you have any questions, should we go into the mailbag as we wrap the episode up here?
Let's save it
Okay.
for the next time. But if you would like to email in, we are unofficialofficialpod@gmail.com. Please tell us your name and where you're from and send in a question about anything. We'll be happy to answer it.
literally anything. Doesn't have to be SNC related or
Yeah.
music related. It could be anything. And obviously all the social medias at unofficial official pod. And just disclosure, while we're on the road, sometimes things get a little hectic. So if we're not sticking to our every Wednesday upload date, have no fear. It'll be out within a few days. The release date might get moved around here and there, but we will get them out. Don't you worry. We'll speed Jasper's out so we can get Steve's out because it's
Right.
better.
You guys are going big time now. Now that you have a slide in the
We've got a slide
in the
in the
show.
show, yeah.
So as we wrap up here, Steve, I just wanted to say we loved having you on, and we hope to have you on again soon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah.
It's been great.
So for Segi and Tyler and Steve Morgan, I am Mike Luganbill. This has been the Unofficial Official Pod, episode number 14. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
See ya.